It's very, very rare that we ever do part two on how I discovered my gift. So if we do a part two, that means the person brought the heat, and there's so much more we have to dive into, and that's the case with Ken Brown. So we're gonna pick up for listeners that were listening to the last episode. Ken was talking to us about how he had the opportunity. His boss at the time moved up and went to a territory in Detroit to manage franchises in for McDonald's in Detroit, and now Ken is being presented with the opportunity. And Ken, you can take us right into that
Powerful. Yeah.
experience.
That's so. Before I start, I always got to give a context. You ever heard says success is when preparation meets opportunity. That's this
Yes.
moment. And so Edie Whitedale was her name. She was actually running the Chicago region with a leadership team, and she got an opportunity to run the entire Michigan region, which might be about 200 and something odd stores. So she was putting together her 5-year plan. So that's when she called me and had me come to Michigan to become an owner. And it's very interesting. So, they always say, don't get ready, stay ready. That's that get ready, stay ready moment. That when she said, I want you to come to Michigan, I thought she was saying a job. And I told her, I said, I don't do jobs. She said, shut your mouth, young man. I'm not talking about a job. Yeah, I watched you. She said, I watched you. And that's a perfect lesson because most people want to be, I just had a conversation before this conversation with you about someone that were talking about what's the difference between a leader and a boss? And I kind of unpacked it. And that's the difference is that, most people want to be a boss. They don't want to own their own business. That makes sense? They just want to be a boss. And so for me, I truly, truly had a service heart. And I just wanted to be free. And I wanted to be able to lead people to freedom, like Moses. I got to be transparent with you. And so when the opportunity presented itself, she said, you took ownership. That's very important. She said, I watched you, Ken. She said, the way that you took care of our business, just imagine if you had your own. And that's when I got a call from Fleet Bank of Boston. And they said, Ken Brown, we heard about you. Now, that's very powerful, Dave. I think you talk about God's favor. You talk about preparation. You talk about grace. You talk about, from my standpoint, the only thing I can control is my preparation. I took total control of my personal development. That makes sense. And so to be able to, most people right now that I coach or call me my clients, one of the things we do now is we do business funding. And I would believe like maybe 85 to 90% of the people who have a great business plan, they got a great idea, they full of passion, they might even know their purpose, but that finance and that funding thing is always the sticker for them. You agree with that? So can you imagine me, born to teenage parents, a big 10 times, I was 33 years old at the time. 33 years old, and then I get a call. I didn't have to put together a business plan for these people, do a pitch session. They called me and said, Ken Brown, we heard about you. Boy, that's gangster right there. And they said, we want to invest in you. And I can't make this up, David. And they said, so we need your fax number. I didn't have a fax number at that time. I had just moved from Chicago to here. I didn't build my infrastructure yet, but I had a mentor here that I was dealing with, and he had an office. So I quickly called his secretary and said, what's your fax number? I'm going to get a fax, and I got a fax from Fleet Bank of Boston, which is now Bank of America. And they said, Mr. Brown, we heard about you. We want to invest in you. And it was on there one page. It wasn't a big, thick document. It was a one-pager. Said, all you have to do is sign your name, and we're going to wire transfer $3 million to your account for you to purchase these 2 McDonald's franchises. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I was loving it, bro. And so that's pretty powerful that a commercial lender would call you and say they heard about you and they want to invest in you. And Dave, sometimes I think about that was a wonderful way to get in business, man, but it's untraditional and it's interesting because I didn't have to go through the normal hurdles, man. And so that's why I really leverage my knowledge, skill, and ability now to help people because I didn't have to go through that. You know what I'm trying to say? And so I didn't have a mother, a father, a spoon fed, but when it came to access to entry, I had a skill set. I had the passion. I had the capacity to own my own business, but I didn't have the finances. So I thank God, man, from the bottom of my heart and Edie Whitedale for being able to give me that missing piece. and you got a combination lock, and you got 3 of the numbers and that one number.
Right.
So for them to do that finance speech for me, that gave me clarity, man. I was able to go into those stores and skyrocket because, like Jay-Z said, money ain't a thing. Woo, come on, somebody.
Right. I just want to rewind real quick. Like this is colossal. You're telling me you got $3 million.
Dude, I think I still got the we had screenshots, but I still got the receipt. I mean, I'm telling you, in my bank account, with my name on it, Brown Food Group. Yes, no, it's powerful. Yes. Now,
like what you got to take us, because Ken, I know it's been some time, but can you take us through the emotion? Like, you've had this journey this far, and you're seeing this. Like, you already know you were seizing the opportunity when it was in someone else's name. Now you're seeing this is Ken's Food Group, obviously managing McDonald's franchises, but this money is in your name, your account, your vision. What was that moment? What did you feel? Like, take us emotionally when you saw this amount of money in your account, knowing that you're going to build this amazing empire. What did you feel? What was going through you?
You know, that's a great question, man, and you're taking me back there right now. The first thing to be taught, the first one was a sigh of relief. Because because I knew I had the skill set. I knew I had the desire. I was a subject matter. At this point in time, I was at the top of my game. So I sighed relief the first because that I didn't know how I was going to. Now, can I go back a little bit? I remember a couple years prior, I had got an opportunity to buy into a small regional in Chicago. It's called Charlie Robinson Ribs. He had 3 locations. He's really big in Chicago. I was a consultant for him, and he would offer me an opportunity to buy into one of his franchises. It was only $150,000. I went to my family members, the First Step friends and family, and they told me they didn't have it. So for me, I was distraught at first when the first opportunity. So when this one came, my first emotion was relief. Woo! I wasn't fearful because and I hate to say pretentious was, but it wasn't about the money. It was like freedom. Woo! I'm free. Call me Kunta. I was a free man. Woo! Come on, somebody. And then I've always been wise enough because I've always been wise and understand the power of mentoring and coaching. So my second response was I immediately grasped onto a McDonald's comptroller, 2 of them. They were brothers too. And so I would spend about 80% of my time with them trying to understand fiscal responsibility at that level. I had never heard about SUDA, FUTA, EBITDA, you know what I mean? ROI, SOI, what? But guess what? I would go on Saturday mornings, early in the morning, sometime on Friday nights, while my buddies were out there kicking it, and I'm there. I'm a student of the game. What is that number? How does my P&L impact my balance sheet? How does my balance sheet? So I'm learning finance at that level because that was my only gap. Wasn't operations. My gap was the financial piece. That makes sense. Because I felt like I had, and then the third feeling was I felt like I had made it to the NBA. Because growing up, I always wanted to go to the NBA. But I got cut in high school, like Michael, I got cut in high school and all that. And so I came to the conclusion that at that day that I did make it to the NBA. Not the National Basketball Association, but my natural born abilities. Woo, come on, somebody. I was able to use my own abilities. And then let me can I add something to it, Dave? And because I found out during the process is that, and I'm not being pretentious, but it's only 200 and something odd players in the NBA, right? Across the globe, right? In the NBA, like 300 now, right? So the odds are greater for me to make it to the NBA than it is to become a McDonald's owner because it's 6.3 billion people on the planet. And it was only at the time like 100 and something odd, less than 200 McDonald's owners. So in my mind, I was like, wow, this is my plot in life. I could dominate this. So I can say succinctly that I was not fearful because I believe scared money can't make money. I wasn't scared. I've always been one to ask for help. So I surrounded myself immediately with 3 people who were smarter than me. Woo, come on, somebody. And they would call in plays for me. What should I do here? What? Because I didn't know. My father, I had to fire my father because I'll tell you the story. When we got along, they asked me, who's on your team? My father worked in hospitality management. He was a chef. So I brought him in from California, told him to quit your job, paid him a lot of money, said, you're going to come here, you're going to work in our company. Now, I built one McDonald's from the ground. And as we're going through the construction, we used to have these meetings once a week, every week on updates. And my father used to tag along with me. So this one particular time, the comptroller from McDonald's called me and was going over the numbers. He said, Mr. Brown, I want to go over your numbers. He said, congratulations once again. Here's your loan. He said, you're borrowing $3 million. He said, and he kind of went through what it was for. And then he said, your debt service is going to be $27,000 a month. My father kind of coughed. You okay, bro? He goes, some water. And then he kept nudging me. We're in a meeting with McDonald's and he nudging me. Kenny. I said, Dad, what's going on? He said, can I talk to you in the lobby? We went into the vestibule. Now, we're in my restaurant is being built from the ground. We in the roof is on, so we're inside. And he took me in the vestibule. And my father is he's a orator. He's very focused. He's a man's man. And this man was like, thought he saw a ghost. Kenny, Kenny, what's going on? Did you okay? He said, did you see that number on there? Yeah. He said, that's $3 million. Yeah, Dad, we made it. My father, bro, who telling me this. Then he says, but you got to pay back $47,000 a month just for the loan? Yeah, Dad. But we bought McDonald's. He was scared. That night I went home, I really didn't sleep. I just tossed and turned, and I had to make an executive decision to sit down with my father later on that week and tell him. I gave him 6 months severance pay. I had bought him a brand new Jeep Cherokee. That was his favorite car. And I said, Dad, I think I made a mistake because God gave me this opportunity and I brought you in because it's family and we all want to own our own business. I said, but maybe I made a mistake because he was scared. And I know scared money can't make money. And I needed people in my circle that were going to fortify me, push me, challenge me. And he was scared. And so I had to fire my father. And I didn't fire him. I freed him. Come on, somebody. I paid him for the whole year, paid him for the rest of the year, a salary, and gave that car. And I'm going to tell you, that to me was huge, man. So to answer the question succinctly, there was so many plethora of a scale of emotions went through my mind. But I can tell you this one was never fear. Never fear. I tell you that much, brother. Never fear. Wow. And guess what? And can I be honest with you? I had to faith it until I made it. I don't fake it. I had to operate by faith. Just believe that I had. God, you ain't going to bring me this far to leave me, Lord. Lord, you ain't going to set me up to be a failure, Lord. And so I had to stay up late nights, work weekends. I couldn't kick it. I didn't take a lot of vacations on the front end because you got that. I'm getting this $3 million, but forget about that part. Guess what? I also have to staff 2 restaurants, and it takes about 80 to be at capacity. It takes 80 people to staff a restaurant, according to McDonald's standards. So I had to also staff and lead a high-performing team. So I couldn't focus on that, though the money part. I had to focus on the operations because that was my area of expertise. And I did that. I focused on operations, and guess what? I made enough money to pay that loan off in 6 years. Come on, somebody.
Oh, wow.
In addition to paying that loan, I had to pay McDonald's $45,000 a month to use their name, and yada, yada, yada. Don't start talking about that. That's a whole different topic, man.
Yeah. Wow. So,
I got a PhD, man, that did it for them.
I can imagine, right? Take me through, because I know you're a systems guy.
Yep.
Take me through I'm sure people wonder McDonald's University and the impact that it had on you and their whole signature system and because let's be honest here, right? McDonald's doesn't make the best burgers in the world, right? But I believe they have the best systems in the world. And so if you could speak about that.
Absolutely. You nailed it, bro. McDonald's they don't have the best fries. That's a lie. I had the opportunity to go to the plant that makes the fries for McDonald's. I had the opportunity to go to farm to table. Been there, done that. Went to the plant to see the chicken come out of the coop. Then 45 minutes later, it's in a box. IQF, individually quick frozen. No, come on, brother. Real talk. So burgers. Went to the whole gamut. They don't have it all. But unequivocally, and I've did work with companies like the Marriott, 7-Eleven, Wendy's. I mean, go on and on. No one can compare to McDonald's system. It's from, they make sure that, and you know what, and it's so, and can I digress for a minute? It's so interesting how, that's why it's so important to, I don't care what level you go to, it's always important to commit to lifelong learning. Because when I first became a licensee, and I can't remember who, I think it was one of the controllers gave me a book to read. And guess what that book, first book was? It was The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Yeah.
Now, here I am, dude, 33 years old, got this $3 million loan, trying to staff these 2 restaurants, and I gotta say this, I got an opportunity that at that point in time that was truly above my capacity. You agree? So reading, I'm reading balance sheets, spreadsheets, schedules, order guides, but I wasn't personal development for that little window. I wasn't doing it every day because I was on the ground, boots on the ground. So they gave me the book, and I put it to the side. Then after getting in the system, I read that book, and in that book, they talk about McDonald's, and they taught me something that I share with my clients, and I use it. And it tells me this, and Mr. McDonald's philosophy, and it says, you create a system, right? You create a system. You master that system. Then you find the right people and let the people manage the system. And then you don't manage the people, you manage the system. And because that's KPIs. Because if you got a system, then you don't got to worry about the people who's operating. You look at the key performance indicators, then you can backtrack and say, okay, David was at this point, and then you can work at David, give him the 2 time of training. That's what McDonald's was so great at with me, is that the onboarding process, they made sure that you got ingrained in the system, that you did the video back then, and you went through the training, and then you had to go through every level of training. Like I went to Hamburger U. Hamburger U is the highest level. On my wall, I actually have a bachelor's degree in hamburgerology. Woo! Come on, somebody. I do, and it ain't just hamburgers though. It's operating systems. They are master at operating systems, man. They taught me about the three-legged stool that about being collaborative. You have the owner operator, you got the corporation, and you got the vendor. So everything they did was a part of that system. And so it also provides you make checkpoints. You don't get to go to the next level unless you are proficient at the one level. So you go through basic training, then you go through advanced training, then you go. And they got these things called station guides. So how do you do a fry? Now people say, well, you just drop the fries. Then no, to make sure that everything is consistent. See, system means save yourself time, energy, and money. So it tells you. I remember, hey, fries come up. You drop the fries. Everything is automated. So you have a station guide over every station to walk you through what steps to take to make. I hate to use that word, idiot proof. That's not a good word. It's to make sure that everybody on the same page, like a director in an orchestra. That's how they're able to scale so great, because they have a system and they have an O&T manual, and everything is in there. How to mop the floors, how to clean the tiles, how to clean the grill, how to clean the machines. You just don't do it your way. You do it their way. And I'm going to tell you now, people probably thinking, well, why are some of them so trifling? It's because they don't follow the system. See, what I did was I went in, I didn't just follow the system. I told my team, we are going to become the master of this system, period. And so it's bar none, man. I've been across the world. Their system is, I still to this day have respect for, because now that's my business right now. Because of me having that opportunity to operate those and go through all those trainings, and not just go through them, but to operate them. And I won every year I was in bid. I won Rookie of the Year, First of the Year. Come on, somebody. And every other year I was in the system, both of my stores won Outstanding Restaurant. Come on, somebody. Wow. Yes, because guess what? I mastered their system. I mastered it. And so, and so it's powerful. And so now I can go into other franchises or people who want to start a franchise, and I can go in, I draw on that experience, game over, kiss the baby. Woo, that's some exciting stuff, man. It's powerful. There's one thing I gotta add too. Yeah. So I'm privy to be on there too. So they're really, and McDonald's is huge on R&D. So they have these innovation, and they big on innovation too. So they got these things strategically located in different cities called the innovation labs. Come on, somebody. So they got people in there all day long with this makeshift like restaurant, and they're going through different processes. Bless you. They're going through different processes and procedures, perfecting it before they go live. Oh man. So when you see a product come to market, trust me, they ain't just going by the fleet of their pants. They got data, they got analytics, they got everything to support. They can tell you how much you're going to make on that product, how much you're going to sell. Once you put it to media, how much you're going to order. Man, let me tell you something, boy. That's why I was so good at it, because here I am. You're going to give me an opportunity to run a business, and you're going to give me a cheat code, and I ain't going to use it? Woo! Come on, somebody. Oh, dude, come on, man. You got me excited about that, boy.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Best experience of my life.
So I love it. I mean, how proud was Edie when she saw all this happen?
Wow. That you better stop, man. That's a powerful question. I never knew, man, because Edie was a gangster. She was an operational superstar. So she expected the best. When she came to Michigan, people didn't like her because she came from Chicago. Chicago is the mothership. That's the core. So the restaurants normally operate at a higher level because they're so close to the mothership. So when she came here, it was to turn around the whole region. So you look up, you the owner, but you look up in your drive-thru at 5:30 in the morning, and she's in your drive-thru placing an order, doing quality assurance. Yes, this is the vice president of the company.
Wow.
So at first, I didn't think, because it was strictly business. But I never forget, she used to come to my stores and just do quality assurance. And so it wasn't until a couple years ago we went to Florida, because we got an investment together in Florida, and we went to Florida, man, and she talked to my wife and my family, and she told me something I didn't know. She said, I want to thank you, Ken. I said, for what? I want to thank you. She said, no. She said, you really helped save my career. I said, what do you mean? She said, true story, I can't make this up. She said, people don't know this. She said, but I took a great risk on you. She said, I didn't know you I met you at a restaurant. You was a server. I met you. She said, I didn't know who you were, but I saw what you did consistently. And so I know I needed someone with your spirit, your passion to come in and disrupt. And I took a risk on you. And guess what? It paid dividends for her. So I didn't know that, man. And then I never forget. And then she said, when she gave me the opportunity, I said, thank you, Edie. My family thanks you. You've changed my life. And I said, how can I ever repay you? She said, Ken, whenever you get the opportunity, just make sure you do the same thing for someone else.
Wow.
Powerful, isn't it? So I paid the loan back in 6 years. No problems at all, man. And just built some great relationships with these financial institutions. Learned how to really start, build, scale a successful businessman, and did it with other people's money, Dave. Come on, somebody. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. So we're very proud. And she's now not only a friend, now she's a partner. We did some real estate deals together to this day. Still active, man. And that's your reputation. You don't get out of life what you want, Dave. We get out of life who we are. Woo! Come on, somebody. Ain't that powerful?
That's powerful, Ken.
Yeah. You got to be the message you bring. I said I wanted to own Ken's hot dog stands, but God has something bigger and better in store for me. And man, that was probably one of my top that whole experience. And I'm still living and eating off of right now to this day.
Wow.
To this day, still. Yeah.
Amazing. So that's beautiful. So let's transition a little bit now. Talk to us through the sale, right? You sell these two, you essentially retire from that phase of life, right? Which you said was one of your, most profound, moments, and just the sheer work and the things that you had to do to develop as a person to do that. I mean, I can't imagine what you had to go through and what you did, and obviously the success that you saw from the other side of that. But now take me through this transition process. It's kind of like, I'm gonna go back to your term in the NBA, right? You're playing in the NBA, and then now you got to transition from playing in the league at this high level and doing this kind of thing, and then you go to another side of the world, and it's not the same anymore. So you got to transition, now out the league to just like Magic and all these other players have to build businesses again outside of this realm. So take us through that.
That's a perfect. That's a beautiful, and that's the only person that I could have followed, because I really wanted to start an NBA, and then to be able to get the NBA are franchises, so we're franchises, so business is business. So by being an owner, that was my whole paradigm. My point of view was that. So I was watching Magic and Michael make those steps, exit strategy. So when I gotta digress. When I first sat down and signed my franchise agreement, I went home, and within that first week to 10 days, Dave, guess what I did? I planned my exit strategy. Real talk.
Wow.
I knew that my goal was not to own McDonald's. I was true to that. I wanted to be free. So I said, okay, I got this opportunity, and I planned it out methodically. I said, I'm going to build these up. And like a roller coaster, when you go to an amusement park anywhere across the world, and an engineer taught me this. If you go to it, they have all of these little peaks and valleys, right? But they said each roller coaster has this huge, as they call it, peak, that it can only get there one time. Come on, somebody. Yeah. Because of inertia and all that, all the laws of most physics, right? And so business is the same way. Business are secular. So I watched it. I said, let me take this puppy to full capacity, take it to the peak. And once it gets to the peak, before it starts to go down, I'm going to sell it. Because Michael Jordan and Oprah Winfrey taught me something. You want to retire at the top of your game. Woo! Come on, somebody. Yes. So I was strategic about that, Dave. I'm making $5 million a year cash money. 5 years, God bless me, $55,000, man. Plus, I've been a steward over, bro, in my life. So I watched that business when I took both stores. It was no airport, it was in neighborhood, both of them. One urban and one suburban. And the urban one, it was easy, not easy. It was focused to get that thing to $2 million. I did $1 million the first 6 months. So I was on a trajectory for $2 million. So the goal was to get the $3 million, because store wasn't doing $3 million back then. So goal was to get a $3 million fastly. Now so both of them when both of them got to $3 million, I knew that it was time to go. I won every award, high performing team. So what is the next to do? So then I started to work on to execute my exit strategy. And so the hotel space. So I got in contact with the National Association of Black Hotel Owner, Operators, and Developers. Told them my name is Ken Brown. I'm a successful McDonald's franchisee, and I want to get into that space. Because I had credibility with Big Mac and McDonald's, they opened me with open arms, bruh. I went in and I began to learn that side of the. So, oh man, it was exciting, man. So then I did that, and then that's when I started to see opportunity out there, and I called my CPA and said, no, let me go back. We had a meeting at McDonald's when coffee came out. When Starbucks first came out on the scene, we used to have coffee in our stores. Now, if you came to McDonald's before and get a cup of coffee, we would tell you, hey, have a seat, Mr. Simmons. Got a fresh cup for you. Because we wouldn't brew coffee because we didn't sell that many of them. But when Starbucks came on the scene, we had a regional meeting, and the VP came and said, we found liquid gold. They said, Starbucks have helped us out. They took a cup of coffee and made it premium. So now the customer will pay more for coffee. He said, we have the larger distribution chain than them. We have a better system. So now we could dominate that space. So we're going to put a full court press on the coffee. I was a part of that process. Yeah, Mac Cafe. Right. I was there when they got birthed. I was there. So we had to get all this equipment. And I never forget, he said, we have liquid gold. He said, we found liquid gold because coffee is very profitable. It's freaking a bean in hot water. Come on, somebody. Yeah. I said it again, Dave. It's one of the most profitable items on your food cost. It's hot water and a bean. You take a bean, you grind it down till it's ground form. You immerse it with hot water. You get a pot of liquid gold. Woo! Come on, somebody. So we had a meeting thereafter, and he said, it's really changing our business. And so he said the owners now have more equity than ever before in the history of McDonald's. Now, I told you, I'm born to teenage parents, evicted 10 times. I didn't know what the hell equity was. And I'm owning McDonald's restaurants. I know what sales was, probably equity. So I called my CPA up. I said, you know what? McDonald's said we have more equity in our stores. And I say, but how would I find the equity in my bank account? I had a real conversation. They said, Mr. Brown, no, you don't find your bank account. I said, well, talk about it. I was quiet, put them on mute, and let them explain to me. And they said, then after they got done, I said, okay, thanks a lot. I said, well, how do I get it into my bank account? They said, you got to sell. I said, okay, I want you, effective immediately, I want you to value both my restaurants. They came back, the one in Detroit, they said, you can sell it for 2.7 mil. The other one, you can sell it for I think 1.8 at the time. I said, sell the big boy. It was newer. I had built it. And it was so powerful, man. Then God gave me favor, man. I had a CPA that was gangster and put together a deal that was never done in McDonald's before, whereas McDonald's has started this thing called a new economic package. Normally, McDonald's in the real estate business, they go out and buy A1 real estate sites. Then they take their money and they build on them. Then they come find franchisees, and we have to pay that money over time, right? They wanted to look at their balance sheet. They teach you so much about business when you just look. So they wanted to stew up their balance sheet a little bit. So they wanted to really reduce their output of cash. So they said they came up with a thing called a new economic package. They said, so in lieu of we find the sites, we buy the sites, right? But instead of us putting our money down to build it, we'll have the franchisee eat the cost of building it. So I had to get a loan of $1 million to build a building. You follow me? And so went through that process, man. So I still had a note on that building of about $750,000. So in this deal, she structured it whereas I was selling my franchise rights for $1.9 million, and then they had to assume the rest of that note for me to get. Because I would have had to take that 1.9 and then pay that. You got to get this. This is so gangster. You feel what I'm saying? So I still had a note. I'm selling the So she had this deal with saying, okay, well, we're going to structure this deal because the work you've done to build this, you want to make sure you get everything. So you're going to sell the franchise rights for $1.9 million for one site. And but the list price is going to be $2.6 million because we're going to have them assume the note on there. Man, when I called some people about that, they were like, what are you doing? What do you do? They were like, I was brilliant. I said, where get that from? My CPA. And I never forget, this is when I knew I made it as an entrepreneur, when I called McDonald's and you have a data sheet and we're on the phone with the president and he said, Mr. Brown, congratulations, on your success. Very proud of how you operate the system and what you're able to do. And we're glad you're going to keep running the system. And they got a thing called first right of refusal. If you're going to sell, you got to give them the first rights. So we sitting there and he said, Mr. Brown, we want to make you an offer for your restaurant. Now, it's out there for $2.6 million. So he said, Mr. Brown, after he kind of stroked me a little bit, he said, we want to offer you 1.7. And then it was silence on the phone. He said, Mr. Brown, did I miss you? I lose you? I said, no, I'm looking. I believe we have an error. I believe you have the wrong data sheet because you offered me 1.7. My restaurant is going for 2.7 million, 2.6 million. He said, no, Mr. Brown, we got the right data sheet. He said, we can't afford to buy that restaurant, pay that for that restaurant. That was a powerful lesson to me. See, just because you got money don't mean you can afford it. Because if it don't make money, it don't make sense. Woo, come on, somebody. That's good. Because think about it. If they would have paid me the full price, they couldn't have sold to somebody else. That makes sense? So they walked away from it. And I was able to sell it. So I sold the first one, paid off my other store, have debt free. And then after I operated for debt free for 3 years, then I executed the phase 2 of my exit strategy was to leverage my experience. And I started writing books, doing coaching, speaking, and I did the Michael Jackson moonwalk up out of there. Come on, somebody.
I love it.
I kept my name. I kept my name. I operated with integrity and excellence. And nobody can ever. You can go to McDonald's. If you go to the National Black McDonald Owners Association website, and they got a tab says retired owners or owners with books. You click that. my name is on that site forever. That because
Beautiful.
now if I was
Awesome.
trifling, they wouldn't have been there. That's important, isn't it? And so I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that I retired before I expired. So you want to
There
make
we
sure
go.
that you leave at the top of your game. Woo! Come on, baby.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. I love it, Ken. This is so powerful. There's so much wisdom you've shared with us in your story. So take us to today, right? You work with all types of business owners, primarily franchise people in the franchise space or people to help establish the franchise space on your consulting side. But then there's two aspects I want you to talk about. If you talk about the consulting side, and then because there's so many, I guess what you call them are acquired skills that you gain while learning a skill of building a franchise. And one of those things is learning and managing operational the financials, the operations, learning credit, learning how to leverage it, financing, all those things. So if you can speak to the both sides of one, the consulting side that you do to help people in the franchise space, and then two, the credit repair and the credit, the business funding, the business finance, and all those things that you do utilize to help business owners too.
That's beautiful. That's a great question, Dave. And everything I do, I try to be intentional. And I don't believe in losses. I believe in learning. So what I done was in my journey, I looked at the lessons I've learned, even some losses, and then I thought about, hey, think about me, the way I came into business, and I still had some areas of opportunity and some gaps in learning. So then I said, Ken, what about the other people who want to buy, build, scale, or exit a franchise? So now my company, Ken Brown International Brown Food Group, I go into companies primarily franchises because that's my wheelhouse. Business is business, but I can do that really at the highest level. And so we help them with people, product, and processes. It's called a three-legged stool. We help them with leadership development. You know what I'm saying? We help them with
Yep.
people, product, making sure that they understand how to maximize and utilize the system. Believe it or not, a large percent of people will spend their hard-earned retirement money to get into a franchise, but then they won't maximize, but then they wind up getting stuck. So you have to, I teach them, go in there, boots on the ground, and show them how to really maximize and leverage the system to get what you want out of it. And then processes. Once again, a lion's share of the work is start with the people piece and the processes piece. Really getting the people to buy into the process. And when those two are married, it's game over, kiss the baby. And so the credit repair and business funding, because I thought back right now when I started my business outside of McDonald's, like I say, 95% of the people had great ideas, very passionate. Great concepts, man. But when it came down to be fund ready, it couldn't happen. So if you don't have funds, to me in business, it's like having a beautiful Mercedes Benz or a beautiful Maybach, but you don't have any gas to put in. You got to park it. So that makes sense. So
yes,
funding, sales is the engine. So I've built some nice relationships over these 20, almost 30 years in business. So now I've reached back and use these relationships to help bring them to small business owners who want to get in the franchise space. Or say you go own the business and you want to do some capital improvements. You don't have the cash flow. You want to use other people's money. Hey, you want to get an additional site. Hey, you don't have the funding. So we bring these people, we bring the funders and the people together. Now, if you're not fund ready, we have a component that will help you get fund ready so you can take advantage of those funds out there. And the credit repair is very important because I don't know if I told you this, but when I was in college, I was dating a young lady, and her mom, I wanted to buy a car. And my mom told me, don't get a car, ride a bike. And my friends had a car, so I wanted the car. I'm working, so I went to my like a big ass baby. I'm gonna be honest with you. I went not crying but venting to my girlfriend's mom, and she said, "Well, Ken, you in college. You're a nice young man. I can co-sign for you." And I took advantage of it, which I should. It was totally irresponsible. It was out of order. I'm guilty of, but I did it because you want what you want, right? Like Paul said, the thing that I do, I don't do, and the thing I should do, I don't do. I had my Paul moment then, but when you're a man of God and you walking in God's favor, it's not going to fulfill itself. Guess what happened? I got the vehicle. I drove it all summer around the town, going to work. And I never forget the day that I went back to drive it to school. Me and my buddy, I just got off work, my fraternity brother. I was tired. I told him to drive. We got 200 miles. He nudging me. It's white smoke coming out the engine. The engine blew in the car. I just bought the car. But I had a note on the car. So I filed a bankruptcy at 19 years old. So now, 19 years old, I filed a bankruptcy. I didn't try to do it, so I went back to court and I told them I didn't want to file bankruptcy. I wanted to consolidate my bills. So all those vendors said okay, and I paid them off. They gave me a letter. So that was my first experience with credit repair at 20 years old. I repaired my own credit. Why is that important, Dave? Because fast forward, the McDonald's opportunity, the only thing the comptroller asked me was, Ken, how is your credit? Now, I had to have good credit in order for them to get me that $3 million.
Wow.
So I know that there's a major power behind having good personal credit. That's going to get you business credit. You know what I'm saying? Right. You don't have to use your personal credit, you leverage it. So I'm on this mission this season to really help people understand that. Work on your personal credit so you can leverage other things in your life. But if you are one of the people who want a business, this is the first step. You might not have any money, but you got credit, and credit is money. Woo! Come on, somebody, help me out. And so it's just a whole spirit of helping people get financially literate, because in my opinion, to be financially literate is the way to freedom. That makes sense to me. And so, I do that all day long, man. I go into these companies and I can help the staff with them. And then one thing I found, Dave, was kind of hard. I didn't realize when I started this business it was going to be, most people, they'll talk about cars, clothes, restaurants. But when you talk about credit, you hear crickets because people are embarrassed. You got to be honest about your credit, because I love credit. It's organic. You know, I had a 450 credit score before, 500. But then, you know what? You can, once you get aware of it, you know what I'm saying? See, Nietzsche said, when you know the why, you can do it anyhow. Woo! Come on, somebody. And so people got blind. You got to take the blindfolds off. And I think oftentimes most people, especially business owners, you see them, nice cars, nice business. But what I find is the more and more that I get engaged with them about credit, you finding out that their credit is jacked because you got cash. I was guilty of that. When you got cash, you thinking you don't need, especially once you achieve your goal. Once you get that loan signed, you get the house, you get the car, you get the business. You don't focus on your credit. Right. You should, but you don't. And so most people, it's not really good. And so they don't want to talk about it. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that it has to be one of those things that you talk about and focus on, because credit is money, and it's better to have it and not need it than not need it and not have it. Does that make sense?
Right. Makes perfect sense.
Good stuff.
Beautiful. So let's wrap with Money-Wise Credit Repair. Tell us about that and how people can get involved and get their credit fixed, get their business funding, get all the things that they need.
Well, that's a great question, Dave. Well, what we do, first off, we don't really fix the credit, we educate. Okay. It's a hybrid, because what we find is that and I've partnered with I'm not an expert at this, but I have 20 years of experience. So what I've done is I've partnered with a company who's been in business for 30 years doing this, and now we've partnered, and so they really are the ones who do the hard work. They get bold. They was fold my company into theirs. Does that make sense? So we're talking about 25 years of experience. I am just the face of this, to be totally transparent with you. And so it's very simple. You can go to moneywisecredit.com, click the link. It's going to take you to you put your information in there, and once you put your information in there, that's when the process begins. Because once you get engaged with us, then we start a process of educating you about not what to do with your credit, things you should be doing now. So you get a contact, not every week, but you get strategic contacts about your credit. Like the first thing you're going to do is, you first click, they're going to tell you, you need to get credit monitoring. everybody on this call, and not Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a marketing. I'm beyond not judging. They're a marketing company. Even Experian and Equifax, those arms, those are marketing arms. Because think about it, when you always get these advertisements, but you need to get a nice, robust one, and we have one. Smart Credit. Smart Credit, it should be in the bio. Go to my bio, Mind Your Business at Ken, click the bio, get credit monitoring. This is probably the most robust I've ever seen. It gives you the 3B report. It gives you update. I mean, it's a wonderful, robust one. We use that as our tool. And then from there, we take a look at your credit there, and then we educate you through the process. Then when you sign up, then you sit back and we do the work for you. We do the work, and guess how we do the work? We do the work by all we do is leverage. Woo, I love leverage. We leverage the law. The Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's not magic. We're not going to do no kind of magic and shady stuff. All we're doing is holding the law accountable, these credit bureaus accountable for what they should be doing. And now, I want to tell you right now, this is very important. It don't take us. It's very quick to get your credit jacked up. But building that credit back up is a process. And so I got a call the other day and said, Ms. Brown, how long does it take? That depends on the client. That depends on your situation. But I can tell you that looking at the web they taught me is over the whole spectrum. It's going to take you anywhere from 60 to about 90 days to see some uptick. Now, it might be some low-hanging fruit, some stuff that's really, we get one letter out there, one letter, one call to get it erased, might get a few points. But to get you back, to get you whole, and when you can see a difference, you got to be patient. So that seed to be patient anywhere from some 60 days to 90 to 120 days. Now, if your credit is really jacked up, it might take you 6 to 8 months, but be patient. On the other side of there is freedom. That makes sense. So we made it very, very easy, very user friendly. We know it's about 99% automated. We will have every month a one-on-one review with you. But and that's if you want to. So a one-on-one live call with you, looking at progress, looking at results, looking at speed bumps. But other than that, you click and we do the work, and you'll get educated on the way, but we do the work for you. Period. I love this so much, because it's so interesting, because a lot of my employees, I found out, you could pay them money, but if they're losing money by paying high interest rates or paying more than they should, I started doing that. Before, I used to hire people to come into my company and do credit repair. But since I have so many people in my sphere of influence, I just partner with a company, and now we do it. Come on, somebody. Because as an entrepreneur, you find a need and fill it. And so I've always had a mission for my life, is to help 4 million people get free from a life they created. This is just another part of that, because if I can help people get free financially, Dave, that's powerful, is it not? Because it gives you clarity, does it not? When you free, it gives you clarity. You make better decisions. You got more of a bounce, And what the Bible says, it's in Proverbs. I'm paraphrasing, probably Holy Spirit, but poor people don't really have a voice. It's said that in the Bible, Proverbs. That's why it's important for us to make sure that, at least from a financial credibility standpoint, you are respectable. That makes sense? And we got to act, I'll say in closing, Dave, we got to ask ourselves. We know. It's called credit. It's credibility. And credit is simple. And people trust you with their money.
Yes.
And then when they look at your credit, all that is an indication of how you'll treat their money. So we teach people how to, I don't care if you got a small budget, if you got $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, be a good steward with that. Because the Bible says, when you're faithful with the small things, we'll make you the ruler of many things. Woo! Come on, somebody. How in the world you think you're going to get somebody to give you $3 million? I told you, when she saw my skill set, saw my mindset, she saw my passion, but this is business. She asked that one question: how's your credit? Now, what if I would have filed bankruptcy at 19 and not did anything about it? Fast forward, when she came to me, I would have said my credit is jacked up. That's why it's so important for us to really get that credit
Good.
to a respectable place, so we then can begin to live in freedom and leverage other people's money. Dave, man, this is some exciting stuff, bro.
Yeah, it is, man. What a beautiful just journey. We asked this for every listener on the show. I mean, for every guest on the show. You weren't prepped on this question, but what is the difference between one's gift and one's purpose? One's gift and one's purpose.
You ain't got to prep me for this, man. So that's a great question, Dave, because I got convicted about purpose because I grew up on Dr. Miles Monroe, and I eat him, and he is one of the forefathers of purpose. You agree with that? So,
oh yeah.
And I struggled with that purpose. What's your purpose? I used to tell people purpose, but for me, they're totally different. A gift is in the Bible. Leadership, service, right? Management. Those are gifts. They come from above. Woo! Come on, somebody. And the purpose, we all have the same purpose. Don't miss this. Our purpose is to live God's purpose for our life. And we try to get deeper with that, man. Because how do you know? But your gift, you can find your gift out, because guess what? You do it with flow, and I love it. And plus the Bible says your gift will make room for you. Like my gift was, I told you, was service.
That's
service. Right. I got a service heart. And the Bible says to be truly great, you must first serve others. That is a gift, because you got some people out here, they don't have the gift of service. They got the gift of selfishness, right? I know, I'm joking. But so your gift is something that you can discover. That's the difference, Dave. Our job is to every day in every way, not to go work a job, but to find out, figure out, and operate in our gifting every day. It's a journey. However, we all have a purpose, and you only find your purpose out by plugging in to the source every day. Prayer, our Father who art in heaven. You plug in, you find out, you get a download, and then you know what I love. So your gift don't change, but your purpose change depending on your location and your season. Woo! Come on, somebody.
It's true.
That makes sense. So your gift, you can refine your gift. You can develop your gift, discover your gift, but your purpose, and I was wrong with that. I thought my purpose is this, but guess what? Your purpose shifts with the season. Because our purpose is to live God's purpose for our life. Like in the kitchen, we have different knives. So if we're filleting something, we pull that fillet knife out. That fillet knife is the fillet. Come on, you're going with that. So your purpose is the same way. Your purpose is, it's not about, your gift is for you. Your purpose is for other people and God. Now it changes. It changes. So think about it. You can't change your purpose. We all have the same purpose. It's to live a life. The Bible tells us, it says we are made for God, by God. I could stop there. Can I? I think it's somewhere in Colossians. Come on, somebody. It says we're made for God, by God. And I can say, period. Woo! Come on, somebody.
Here we go. Man, brother. Ken, you dropped the heat bombs on them 2 times, man. Thank you so much for blessing the people. Can't wait for everyone to hear this episode and be blessed by this episode just like I have. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you sincerely, greatly. Thank you for blessing people today.
Thank you, brother.